Hello, everyone. This is John Maddox doing my 800-pound deadlift update. So this is the week ending August 30th, 2024. Happy Labor Day weekend for people. Hopefully you got a day off here on Monday. So this is my first week back. The previous week I had the week off. And as you know, I was starting to lay out for people since I've had this meet on July 20th, I realized that, since I've been just concentrating on my squat, and I've really just been doing some high-end deadlift work to make sure my lower back is strong. I really haven't been paying attention to the whole deadlift movement from, breaking it from the ground. Actually, I hadn't even done a deadlift from the ground in over a year and a half before I did that meet. So that was an eye-opener. So my first week back, that's what I'm doing now. So what I'm doing though is going wider than my normal deadlift stance, just trying to develop hip strength. So that's what I did still squat first, but when I was done squatting, I went up to, I had some congestion this week. So this week's been a little frustrating. So sinus issues, and I'm sorry, I'm going to actually cough right now. And I've been having some congestion issues. It made it a little tough to squat, especially when I got 680, for my negative. I couldn't breathe when I put it, and it made me actually kind of lean forward. I mean, I still took it down, but it's, I wouldn't call it beautiful at all. It was rough. Every once in a while we got these workouts and they're just grinders. We just got to get through them. Like back in the day when I used to train, man, we'd be in there with our noses running. We didn't care. It was all about training. Who cared if you were sick? Most people don't do that anymore. But we weren't going to miss workouts. Every workout was important. So, you didn't want to miss the training. So it doesn't mean you should overtrain, right? Remember, my goal is to intelligently undertrain. Because if you're overtraining, you're not going to get stronger. All right. If you're pushing yourself hard enough to where your body doesn't adapt, then you're going to keep getting stronger. But, sometimes you get sick. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes you lose power, like happened to me this week. I lost it Friday. Luckily, I already cooked both my steaks because I like to use a George Foreman grill. But, I didn't get power again until Friday. So from Tuesday night to Friday afternoon, I had no power. So it made it tough to sleep. I had to get some junk food to eat there for a couple days. And then I've finally been on a regular diet Friday, Saturday, and today. I'm back, back on schedule. So, even with the congestion, I still squat at 590, as I just mentioned, 680 in a negative felt really rough. And then my deadlift was just a wide stance, wider than my normal stance. And I went up to, 550 on that. So when I tried it for the first time, and that's with no straps or anything, it's just using my regular grip, I only went to 500. So this time I went up to 550. And then, like I said, each time I go to try it, I'll try to see if I can go up a little bit, but with the wide stance, I have a difficult time at the top end trying to bring the hips through. And maybe that's it. Maybe because my hips are weak, from having the hip injury. Maybe I just need to practice this for a while. Maybe that will help develop my hip strength, because I do, like next week, I'm not deadlifting. I do the hip, I'll be doing the hip thrust then, which helps, obviously, when you can do those. And I like to pause them at the top. So I did see an episode with Brian Shaw. That's what he does. He likes to pause them at the top. And I kind of like that idea. He was actually doing it with Nick Best. And so what's interesting is my hip thrust is just right on with what Nick Best was doing, at least in that video with Brian Shaw. So like I said, I have a lot of if it wasn't for this hip issue where I couldn't, I can't really train my lower back how I prefer to train my lower back right now. I got to work around everything. So as I mentioned to you previously, my hip ended up going out for a second time. That's because I was trying to do a conventional stance. I call it a power stiff-legged deadlift. That's from something that you do from mid-shin, and it's a stiff-legged deadlift. To me, I love that. I think that's the best way to train your lower back and your glutes and your hams. It really hits everything. And it's a position you can end up in a meet. And but it ended up, I ended up injuring my hip and popping it out again. It wasn't as bad as it was before, but now that it's back in again, huge difference. And so even before I did my super wide sumo deadlift on Tuesday, I did do standing good mornings with a wide stance. And I went up a little heavier than I did before. I went up to, I think, 325 pounds for a single. I think I went up to 315 before. And see, and I always do everything in the pins. And like, for example, when I do my box squats, I go up to 4 plates on the box squat. I do that below parallel. But when I go to do my squats above that, I don't squat below parallel. I squat like just a tad above, because in a meet, when you get the ability to do get some rebound out of your bottom, you're going to go below parallel. And so if you practice squatting an inch below parallel all the time, and then you go for that max squat, you're all of a sudden you're going to be 3 inches below parallel, which is just a waste of energy and it's a waste of time, and it might cause you to actually miss the lift. And so if I put, my strength is out of the hole in my squat. My weakness of my squat is when I'm about 3/4 of the way up, because of my fusions in my spine kind of force me forward. And then I have to catch it and kind of come back up and correct myself. So my weakness isn't out of the bottom of the squat. So for me to sit there and plan on squatting way below parallel all the time, then I go for that max squat, I'm just going to bury myself in the hole, and it's just going to cause me to miss the lift, probably make me lean forward. I'd rather just be a tad above in my normal training, plus stop it for a fraction of a second on the pin, because that develops strength. Because now I'm doing technically a pause squat just above. I'm doing, pause squats off the box below, and I'm doing all my others just a tad above. I'm not doing it inches above, just above. And that helps you develop that full drive through the whole of the squat when you start to come up. So it's worked very well for me. So obviously the box squat, I think, is one of the greatest inventions for people. Just, make sure you do them below parallel, because I do see videos of people that are doing them 3/4, and, that's just too high. You might have done not use a box if you're not going to go down below parallel, because when you do the boxes below parallel, you know exactly where your full squat is, right? You're practicing it every day that you squat, right? So I even do it with, no weight on the bar for my first set. Then I do it with, 135, 225, 315. And I go up to, 400 or 410. Technically, I have a 50-pound bar. So it's add 5 pounds of all those normal weights. So, and then I end up at 410. And then when I go up to 500, then I set the pins to where I'm coming down just a tad above. So, or right at it, right? Because it depends. As I put weight on the bar that I squat with, it starts to bend. And that can impact, how deep I am when I'm squatting. But it just depends on the situation. So, but it works very well, because now my squat is strong through all the positions, because I don't bounce off the pins. I literally stop for a fraction of a second and go up, and it depends. Like I said, if I'm trying to do an all-time squat, I may come down and just kind of graze them on the way up, not really using them as a rebound, because we have a very wide rack. And so the pins are very long. They're almost 3 feet long. So 4 feet. I think they're 4 feet long, to be honest with you. I'm almost positive they're 4 feet long. The pins are really long because the rack is really wide. And so those pins flex. And so if I come down and I'm trying to do something and it's something I haven't tried before, then I may come down and, always I'm touching them. But sometimes I'll force those pins down a little because of the flex that they give as I go back up. So, but I like to have my pins there, because if something happens, you see these guys dumping the weights all the time. You don't want to injure the equipment. You don't want to injure yourself. Learning how to use a power rack, it's going to help you get stronger. And trust me, I think a person who does a video, and I've keep telling Art Little at the gym, he should do a video on how to, because he's now the APF state chairman. So there's a lot of people are going to want to go to his channel, hear what he has to say. He should be doing a video out there about how to properly use a power rack for strength training. Now, a lot of people use platforms. A lot of people use bands and chains and all that stuff. It's just another way to do partials. So, but, then I did the rest of my assistant stuff. I didn't have a problem with that. So, the glute ham is my favorite exercise. So, yeah, I'm excited about next week's. I do like to do the hip thrust, and that's when I do my one-legged leg presses. And on bench day, even though losing power for 4 days, sweat my butt off. Obviously my office wasn't out of power. So during the day, I was okay. It's just when I had to try to sleep, which made it a little bit rough when it was kind of hot and everything. But Friday I was fine. So I benched, what did I do? I went up to 305. I've been trying to increase that weight I do in my full position before I go to the board. 305, I just popped it up pretty smooth. And then I went up to 345, popped that up pretty smooth. And I went up to 385 and came up pretty smooth. It's just, I couldn't lock it out. So Art had to help me. So, but it was a good try. I guess my immediate goal right now is to get to 385. The most I've ever done was 400 back in October of 2022, but I was setting up totally different then. I was really working to cut distance, and right now I'm just trying to, just get down on the bench and not really concentrate so much on trying to cut the distance as just trying to train. And maybe what I'll do here as I start getting close, I just want to know I can do it like a 400-pound board press at any time under any circumstance. Not that I have to, be positioned in a certain way to make it happen. So like I said, I try not to lift my hips up, try to make sure I'm driving, with my triceps and my arms. And, so I try not to do anything that allows me to get leverages other than from my upper body. And my bent rows, because usually the weeks that I deadlift, I don't expect to do anything crazy in my bent row. I just ran up to 495. I pulled it very easy. And I did my regular upper body workout. So I did lat pull downs. I like to do almost like a stiff arm thing. I know Dave Tate talks about them, where you hold the bar and you pull down like this. It simulates like you unracking the weight, out of, for benching, out of the rack. I always do those, and a lot of stuff I do is only singles, right? So, but I'll do 3-4 sets of actually that of singles. I'll work up from 85 all the way up to 130 pounds. Then I'll do a set of tricep push downs, and I'm getting to the point where I need to go a little heavier on those. So I think I'm up to 100 pounds for like 12 reps. And then and after my board presses, I go and do my, dumbbell inclines, and it's a higher incline, so I can't really, because of my shoulder, I can't really do seated shoulder presses with dumbbells because it irritates my shoulder. So I try to do as high of incline as I can, where it's still kind of shoulder work in addition to being, upper chest type work. I hope people understand that. So, but yeah, a lot of stuff I do is just simple. I mean, once I train a muscle, I can't beat it from every angle. Your body can only recuperate from so much work. It's one of the things I try to stress to people, right? If you're doing your basics and you're recuperating, you're going to keep getting stronger. I wouldn't add something unless you're, for some reason, not getting stronger and you're doing the bare minimum. So if you're not getting stronger, you need to ask yourself, are you training too much? And so maybe you need to increase the number of days in between training. That's why I like to do 7 days in between. 1 day upper body, 1 day lower body. Are you eating enough, right? Are you losing weight? If you're losing weight, that's going to impact your strength. Gain weight. That's what I did. I made that decision. I need to get up heavier if I wanted to lift the weights I wanted to do. But like I said, I like to do concentration curl before I do my hammer curls, because I really can't do a standing barbell curl because it irritates my shoulder. So a lot of things that I do, I'm forced to do them because of injuries. So like I said, I can't do my favorite deadlift exercise because of the hip. So you can still work around stuff. And like in 2 weeks from now, I am going to do all the platform work where I'm working multiple different positions. I'm just going to add one to where I'm only going to be about 4 inches from the floor in addition to where I was before. Plus do one that's, just below the knees. I'm going to add 2 positions. So one position that's closer to the ground than I did before, and in one position's even farther from the ground than I did before. Also doing the one that's about 8 inches from the ground. So I'm going to work it from multiple different positions. But you need, like I said, when you get to your top end after you warm up, you need 1 set from 4 inches, you need 1 set from 8 inches, and you need 1 set from just below your knee. You don't need to sit there and do set after set after rep after rep. Your body is going to be worn out, right? But it just gives you the opportunity, once you hit your max at 1, and then you can say, well, here, let's add a little weight so the body knows what it feels like. Let's add a little more weight so the body knows what it feels like. And like I said, with my shrugs right now, I've just been shrugging with 675 for reps. I've not been trying to go up over 800. I figure if I can start knocking that out for 10 reps all the time, and it's pretty easy, I know I can shrug over 800 pounds. It's not going to be a problem. It's a lot less stressful on my body and my joints. And like I said, I haven't been trying to do a negative on the deadlift right now because the hip, now that it's back in, I'm going to concentrate on getting my full range of movement where my body feels comfortable doing that full range of movement. Then I'm going to start doing negatives. I'm going to do maybe even a little lighter at first and conquer some of those and then start working up to 800. So I got my plan to get to where I need to go. Just remember, I got this other website, which is called communityreviews.org. It's pretty cool. We got a lot of intel over there. If you really want to know what's going on in the world, check out communityreviews.org. I got a podcast. I have these things called community interest, where I've been tracking stuff for, it's getting close to 2.5 years now at the end of this month, all types of interesting topics. And it gives you the independent journalist source. It gives you, the explanations, gives you stuff where you can go find more information on if you want to. So it's a pretty cool resource. So anyways, I appreciate everyone checking my update for this week. I'm still doing good. Talk to you later.